The night sky was clear and full of stars when Karen Davis spotted something strange on her radar screen. As the only engineer working the midnight shift at Pinewood Observatory, she leaned closer to the monitor, her blue eyes narrowing. "That can't be right," she whispered. The object was big and moving fast, but it wasn't falling like a meteor. It was steering itself, slowing down as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Karen pushed her blonde hair behind her ears and quickly called her supervisor, but only reached voicemail. She tried the military base next, but they told her to file a report in the morning. No one seemed to care about the unidentified flying object that had just landed in Blackwater Forest, only 20 miles from the observatory. Karen bit her lip, thinking. She was 32 years old and had worked at Pinewood for 8 years. She knew the rules. Strange radar readings meant filling out forms, not driving into the forest alone at 3 a.m. But what if it's important? She said to the empty room. 10 minutes later, Karen was in her old pickup truck, a flashlight and first aid kit beside her. She wore her work clothes, jeans, boots, and a flannel shirt, with a jacket thrown over top. The truck's headlights cut through the darkness as she drove down empty roads. At the forest edge, Karen parked and checked her GPS. The walk would take about 40 minutes. The forest was quiet except for the occasional hoot of an owl or rustle in the bushes. Moonlight filtered through the trees, casting long shadows. "I must be crazy," she muttered, but kept walking. She smelled it before she saw it, something like hot metal and strange chemicals. Then the trees opened into a clearing, and Karen froze. The spaceship was about the size of a school bus, oval-shaped with a smooth surface that seemed to glow slightly in the dark. One side had a panel open, showing damage inside. Sparks flew from what looked like broken wires or circuits. Karen took a step back, her heart racing. This was real. An actual spaceship from somewhere beyond Earth. She should run. She should call someone. Anyone. Then she heard a noise from inside the ship. It wasn't human, more like clicking and chittering. Karen stayed hidden behind a tree and watched as something climbed out of the open panel. The alien stood about 5 feet tall with copper-colored skin that reflected the moonlight. It had 4 arms and moved quickly, checking the outside of the ship before returning to work on the damaged area. Its face reminded Karen of a mix between a human and an insect, with large green eyes that seemed to see in all directions. The alien was clearly upset, making those clicking sounds faster as it tried to fix something inside the ship. It connected 2 pieces, and suddenly there was a small explosion. The alien fell backward, making a high-pitched sound that might have been pain. Without thinking, Karen stepped out from behind the tree. "Are you hurt?" she called out. "Can I help?" The alien spun around, all 4 arms raised as if ready to fight. Those strange green eyes fixed on Karen. And for a moment, neither moved. The forest was completely silent. Then the alien slowly lowered its arms and tilted its head, studying her with what seemed like curiosity. It made a series of soft clicking sounds. Karen took a deep breath and stepped forward, hands open to show she meant no harm. "My name is Karen," she said clearly. "I'm an engineer. I think I can help fix your ship." The alien and Karen stood facing each other in the moonlit clearing. The forest around them was silent, as if all the animals were holding their breath. Karen's heart pounded in her chest, but she kept her hands visible and her face calm. The alien made more clicking sounds, then reached for a small device attached to its belt. Karen tensed, but instead of a weapon, the device projected a floating blue light between them. Symbols flashed rapidly in the air, changing and shifting until they formed English words. "Danger. Ship broken. Need leave soon." Karen pointed to herself. "Engineer," she said slowly. "I fix things. Machines." She pointed to the damaged ship. "I can help fix." The alien's large green eyes blinked several times. It touched its device again, and new words appeared in the air. "Why human help? Humans fear different." Karen smiled slightly. Not all humans. Some of us are curious. She took a careful step toward the ship. May I look? The alien watched her for a long moment, then stepped aside, making a gesture with two of its four arms that seemed to invite her closer. As Karen approached the ship, she could see the damage better. Something had blown out part of what looked like an engine system. Wires, or things that looked like wires, were melted and broken. Strange crystal-like components were cracked. What happened? She asked, pointing to the damage. The alien worked its translator again. Attack. Bad beings chase. Need escape before they follow. Karen nodded, understanding the urgency. Bad guys after you. Got it. She knelt down to look more closely at the damaged parts. This might take time. I don't know your technology. The alien made a sound that might have been frustration. The translator flashed. No time. Dangerous for human world if they come. Karen took off her jacket and rolled up her sleeves. Then we better work fast. My name is Karen. What should I call you? The alien touched its chest with one hand. A series of clicks and whistles followed. Karen tried to repeat the sound but failed completely. She laughed nervously. I can't say that. Can I call you something simpler? The alien tilted its head, then touched its translator. Call me Zex. Zex, Karen repeated. Okay, Zex. Show me what needs fixing first. Over the next hour, Karen and Zex developed a system of working together. Zex would point to a broken part and use the translator to explain its purpose. Karen would think about how to fix it with what she had available. Sometimes she used tools from her pocket multi-tool. Other times she had to be creative. When she fixed a broken connection using a paper clip from her pocket, Zex made a sound like wind chimes, perhaps a laugh. Human tools, primitive but clever, the translator showed. Sometimes simple is better, Karen replied, wiping sweat from her forehead. As dawn approached, Karen learned more about Zex. She had decided Zex was male, though she wasn't sure aliens had the same genders as humans, was a scientist studying star systems. His people, called the Vril, were peaceful explorers, but they shared this part of the galaxy with several dangerous species. Collectors worst, the translator explained. Take resources, take technology, take people. Karen paused in her work. They take people. You mean like kidnap them? Zex's four arms made a complex gesture. Study them. Use them. Not good. Karen looked up at the lightning sky. Then we really need to get you out of here before they track your ship. Let's keep working. As the first birds began to sing in the forest, Karen and Zex bent over the damaged engine. Two beings from different worlds united by a common goal, and the shadow of a common enemy that might be getting closer with every passing minute. The morning sun filtered through the trees as Karen worked. Her hands were dirty and scratched, but she didn't mind. This was the most exciting day of her life. Hand me that crystal thing again, she said to Zex, pointing to a blue shard. Zex passed it to her with one of his lower arms while his upper arms held open a panel. The translator device sat nearby, occasionally flashing with new words. Karen studied the ship's damaged engine. It wasn't like any engine she knew, but some parts looked familiar. There were things that moved energy, stored it, and released it, just like engines on Earth, but using different materials and science. Your ship runs on some kind of crystal energy, Karen said, wiping sweat from her forehead. It's beautiful. Zex clicked softly. The translator showed. Crystal drives common in galaxy. Your people still use chemical fire. Karen laughed. You mean gasoline and rockets? Yeah, we're still burning stuff to get around. Pretty primitive, huh? She picked up a broken piece of what seemed to be a power line. It was hollow and filled with tiny blue crystals. I think I see the problem here, she said. This main power line is cut. The energy can't flow to your dry system. Zex clicked rapidly. Cannot fix without special tools. Karen shook her head. I think we can. See these crystals? They're conducting energy, right? Like electricity, but different. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a necklace with a silver chain. This might work as a connector. Silver is a great conductor on Earth. Zex watched with all four arms crossed as Karen carefully worked the silver chain into the broken power line, connecting the crystals. When she finished, she sat back on her heels. Try it now. Zex pressed some controls on a panel. Lights flickered, and a low hum filled the air. The broken power line glowed blue around Karen's silver chain, and energy began to flow. It works, Karen said, grinning. Not pretty, but it works. Zex made the wind chime sound again. The translator showed, human female smart. Good engineer. Thanks, Karen said, but we still have a lot to fix. By midday, they had repaired most of the critical systems. Karen had used paperclips, her multi-tool, even parts from her cell phone to fix the alien technology. Her stomach growled loudly. Sorry, she said. I haven't eaten since yesterday. Zex tilted his head, then reached into his ship and brought out a small package. He opened it to reveal what looked like blue jerky. Food, the translator said. Safe for humans. Karen looked at it doubtfully. You sure about that? Our biology is probably very different. Zex made a gesture that might have been a shrug. Vril and humans not so different. Basic elements same. Karen hesitated, then broke off a tiny piece and put it in her mouth. It tasted strange, like seaweed mixed with honey, but not bad. She waited a minute, and when nothing bad happened, she ate more. Thanks, she said. That's actually pretty good. They went back to work. As they fixed more systems, Zex told Karen about his world. The Vril lived on 3 planets in a distant system. They had been traveling through space for thousands of years. They knew of many other intelligent species, including some that had visited Earth long ago. Humans watched, but not ready, the translator explained. Too violent with each other. Karen nodded sadly. Yeah, we're still working on that part. As the afternoon went on, Karen realized something. She was enjoying herself. Working with Zex felt natural, like they'd been a team for years. They anticipated each other's needs, passing tools back and forth, finding creative solutions together. By sunset, the main engine was working again. Zex ran a diagnostic test and made a series of happy-sounding clicks. Ship can fly, the translator showed. You saved Zex's life. Karen smiled, dirty and tired but proud. We did good work today. Tomorrow we can finish the secondary systems. But Zex shook his head. The translator flashed urgently. No tomorrow. Collector's coming. Must leave tonight. Karen stared at the translator's message with wide eyes. Tonight? But there's still so much to fix. Zex's 4 arms moved in what seemed like an anxious pattern. The translator flashed. Ship sensors detect signal. Collector's ship 3 days away. Must leave. 3 days doesn't sound immediate, Karen said, frowning. Zex clicked rapidly, and the translator struggled to keep up. Need time. Find safe path. Avoid Earth detection. Your people would panic if see ship flying. Karen couldn't argue with that. Even she, who had always believed aliens existed, had nearly run away when first seeing Zex's ship. Okay, she nodded. Let's focus on what's absolutely necessary to get you home safely. They returned to work as the forest grew darker around them. Karen used the flashlight from her phone to see the small components they were fixing. Her fingers were sore and her back ached, but she didn't complain. The stakes were too high. As they worked side by side, communication became a challenge. The translator worked for simple ideas, but technical concepts were harder. Sometimes Zex would make frustrated clicking sounds when Karen didn't understand what he needed. I'm sorry, Karen said after a particularly difficult exchange about what seemed to be a navigation system. I wish I could understand your language better. Zex paused, then touched his head with one hand and Karen's forehead with another. She felt a strange tingling sensation, like gentle electricity. "What was that?" she asked, startled. Zex clicked, and the translator showed. "Temporary connection. Will help understand. Not perfect. Will fade." Karen was about to ask what he meant when suddenly the clicking sounds started to make sense. Not completely. It wasn't like she understood his language. But she could feel the meaning behind the sounds. When Zex clicked rapidly while pointing at a broken part, she knew he was saying it was important and dangerous. "That's amazing," Karen said. "How did you do that?" Zex made the wind chimes sound. "Vril ability. Share thoughts. Short time only with humans. Your mind's different." With this new partial understanding, their work went faster. By midnight, they had fixed the navigation system and life support. The ship could now travel safely, even if not at full speed. They took a break, sitting on fallen logs near the ship. The night was cool, and Karen shivered slightly. Zex noticed and brought her a thin, metallic blanket from his ship. "Thanks," she said, wrapping it around her shoulders. It was surprisingly warm. Zex clicked softly, and Karen felt his curiosity. "What do you want to know?" she asked. The translator showed. "Why human female alone in forest? No fear." Karen smiled. "I was afraid at first, but I'm also curious. My whole life, I've looked at stars and wondered if someone was out there. And here you are." She paused, then added, "Also, I'm an engineer. When I see something broken, I want to fix it. It's just who I am." Zex seemed to consider this. "Your people lucky to have fixers. Many species only break things." Karen laughed softly. "Oh, humans break plenty of things too. But some of us try to repair what's broken." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Karen looked up at the stars, thinking how different they must look from Zex's homeworld. "Your stars," Zex clicked, following her gaze. "Beautiful pattern. Different from home." For a moment, they shared an understanding that went beyond the translator. Two beings from different worlds, looking at the same stars from different perspectives. Then Zex stood up. "Must finish repairs. Time short." Karen nodded and got to her feet, renewed energy flowing through her tired body. They still had work to do before Zex could escape the collectors and return to his people. And somehow, that had become the most important thing in Karen's world. The forest grew quiet as midnight passed. Karen and Zex worked in a rhythm now, their movements synchronized despite their different bodies. The only sounds were the soft clicking of Zex's language, the occasional beep from the ship's systems, and the natural noises of the forest at night. "Almost done with the shield generator," Karen said, connecting two crystal components with a thin wire from her earbuds. Her hands moved carefully, aware that one wrong connection could undo hours of work. Zex clicked approvingly. The partial connection they shared helped Karen understand his meaning. "Good work. Fast learner." The shield generator was essential. Without it, Zex explained, the collectors could track and capture his ship easily. With it, he had a chance to escape undetected. As Karen finished the connection, a small hum filled the air, and a faint blue glow surrounded part of the ship. "It works," Karen said, smiling tiredly. Zex made the wind chime sound that Karen now knew was laughter. Human fixes good with simple tools. Impressive. They moved to the next system. As they worked, Karen's curiosity grew about the collectors. Who are these collectors exactly? Why are they after you? Zex was silent for a moment, his four hands pausing in their work. Then he clicked slowly, and Karen felt a darkness in the meaning. The translator displayed. Collectors take things. Knowledge. Technology. Life forms. Study. Sometimes return damage. Sometimes not return. A shiver ran down Karen's spine that had nothing to do with the cool night air. They sound like what some humans call alien abductors. Zex's eyes blinked rapidly. Yes, some human stories true. Collectors visit many worlds. Take samples. Karen stopped working and looked at Zex. "Have they been to Earth before?" Zex nodded, a human gesture he seemed to have picked up from her. "Many times. Long history." Karen felt a chill. All those stories, all those people who claimed to have been taken by aliens, some of them might have been telling the truth. "Why does nobody stop them?" she asked. Zex's upper arms made a sweeping gesture while his lower arms continued working. "Many space people try. Collectors powerful. Hide well. No home planet found." They worked in silence for a while, Karen processing this new information. The more she learned about the universe beyond Earth, the more complex it seemed, not so different from human politics and conflicts, just on a much larger scale. Around 3 in the morning, they needed a break. Karen's fingers were cramping, and even Zex seemed tired, his movements slower than before. They sat near the ship, looking up at the stars. Karen opened her backpack and pulled out a chocolate bar she'd forgotten about. "Want to try Earth food?" she asked, breaking off a piece. Zex studied the chocolate curiously, then took it with his upper right hand. He didn't have a mouth like humans, but a small opening appeared below his eyes. He placed the chocolate there, and it disappeared. After a moment, Zex made a happy clicking sound. "Sweet. Good energy. Different from Vril food." Karen smiled. "Chocolate is one of our best inventions." As they rested, Karen noticed Zex looking at her with his large green eyes. She felt his curiosity through their connection. "What?" she asked. The translator showed. "Human female, not like others in Earth stories. Brave. Kind to different beings." "Why?" Karen thought about it. "I don't know. Maybe because my parents were scientists. They taught me to be curious, not afraid." She paused. "Or maybe I've just watched too many science fiction movies hoping aliens would be friendly." Zex tilted his head. "Movies?" Karen laughed. "Stories we tell with moving pictures. Some are about meeting aliens. In some, the aliens are good. In others, they're scary monsters." Zex clicked softly. "Reality more complex. Some good, some bad. Like humans." Karen nodded. "Exactly like humans." The first light of dawn was appearing in the sky when they returned to work. They were both tired but determined. The ship was almost ready, and morning brought a new urgency. Soon people would be awake, and someone might come looking for either Karen or the strange object that had fallen from the sky. Time was running out. The morning sun filtered through the trees as Karen made the final adjustments to Zex's ship. Birds sang in the distance, and the forest was coming alive with day creatures. Karen's eyes burned from lack of sleep, but her hands remained steady. "This should do it," she said, connecting the last power line to the main control system. She had used parts from her watch, her phone charger, and even the zipper from her jacket to complete the repairs. Zex stood beside her, all 4 arms busy testing different controls. Lights flashed across the ship's panels, and a low hum grew stronger, vibrating through the clearing. "Systems at 78%, the translator displayed. "Enough for safe travel." Karen stepped back to look at their work. The ship still showed damage on the outside, but the essential systems inside were now functional. It wasn't perfect, but it would get Zex home. "I wish I could have fixed it completely," Karen said, wiping her dirty hands on her jeans. Zex made a gentle clicking sound. "Human did impossible already. Vril engineers will complete repairs. You saved Zex's life." Karen smiled tiredly. "We worked together. That's what matters." A sudden beeping came from inside the ship. Zex rushed to check a screen, his movements quick and alarmed. The clicking sounds he made were sharp and urgent. "What's wrong?" Karen asked, feeling his fear through their fading mental connection. The translator flashed red words. "Collector ship changed course. Coming faster. Detected repairs." Karen's heart raced. "How much time do we have?" "Hours, not days," Zex replied. "Must leave now." Karen looked around frantically, suddenly aware of how exposed they were. The morning light made the ship visible, and any hiking human could stumble upon them. "Yes, you need to go," she agreed. "Is everything ready?" Zex checked the systems one more time, then nodded, another human gesture he had picked up. "Ship will fly, can reach safe space before collectors arrive." Karen felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. She was glad Zex would escape, but she had grown to like the alien in their short time together. It felt like saying goodbye to a friend. "I guess this is it then," she said, stepping away from the ship. Zex paused, looking at Karen with those large green eyes. He made a series of soft clicks that the translator didn't catch, but Karen felt the meaning. Gratitude, respect, and something like friendship. Then Zex disappeared into the ship. The entry panel began to close, but suddenly stopped. Zex reemerged, holding something in his upper hands, a small, glowing blue crystal about the size of a playing card. He approached Karen and held it out to her. The translator showed, "Gift for human helper. Small knowledge crystal. Contains basic science. Safe technologies. Will help Earth people." Karen stared at the crystal in shock. "I can't take this. It's too valuable." Zex pressed it into her hands. "Payment for repairs. Fair exchange. Use wisely." Karen held the crystal carefully. It was warm and pulsed slightly, as if alive. She realized what this meant. Technology beyond anything on Earth, knowledge that could change human society forever. "This is too much," she whispered. Zex made the wind chime laugh. "Not enough. Worth of human kindness greater." Before Karen could respond, Zex did something unexpected. He extended all four of his arms and wrapped them gently around her in what could only be described as a hug. The gesture was so human, so familiar, yet so alien that Karen froze in surprise. Through their fading mental connection, she felt Zex's emotions, respect, gratitude, and hope. Then he released her and moved quickly back to his ship. This time, the panel closed completely. The ship hummed louder, and small lights flickered across its surface. Karen backed away, clutching the crystal to her chest. The ship began to rise slowly, hovering just above the ground. Then, with a flash of blue light, it shot upward, faster than any human aircraft could move. In seconds, it was just a tiny speck in the morning sky. And then it was gone. Karen stood alone in the clearing, the only proof of her incredible night held tightly in her hands, a gift from the stars. Karen stood alone in the forest clearing, watching the empty sky where Zex's ship had disappeared. The crystal in her hands glowed softly, its blue light pulsing like a gentle heartbeat. For a moment, she wondered if she had imagined everything. But the crystal was real. So was the strange burnt patch of ground where the ship had rested, and the parts of her watch, phone, and clothes that she had sacrificed for the repairs were definitely missing. It really happened, she whispered to herself. The forest seemed ordinary now, just trees and morning sunlight. Birds sang, and somewhere a squirrel chattered. Nothing suggested that an alien had been here just minutes ago, or that collectors from space might be approaching Earth. Karen looked down at the crystal. What was she supposed to do with it? How could she even begin to understand the knowledge it contained? She carefully wrapped it in her bandana and placed it in her backpack. As she hiked back to her truck, fatigue finally caught up with her. She had been awake for more than 24 hours, working non-stop to fix Zex's ship. Her muscles ached, and her eyes felt like they had sand in them. At her truck, Karen paused and looked back at the forest. Part of her wanted to stay, to see if the collectors would really come. But a stronger part knew that would be dangerous and foolish. "Good luck, Zex," she said to the sky. "I hope you make it home safely." The drive back to town was strange. Other cars passed. People walked on sidewalks. A school bus picked up children. Normal life continuing while Karen carried an alien crystal in her backpack. The contrast made her laugh out loud. At home, Karen locked her door, closed all the blinds, and placed the crystal on her kitchen table. Then she took the longest shower of her life, washing away dirt, sweat, and the strange smell of Zex's ship. Clean and wearing fresh clothes, she sat down to examine the crystal. It had no buttons, no obvious way to access the information inside. She touched it gently, and the blue glow brightened. "How do I use you?" she asked it. To her surprise, the crystal responded. The light shifted, forming shapes above it, symbols like those from Zex's translator. They changed rapidly, then formed English letters. Place hands on crystal. Think of question. Karen hesitated, then placed both hands on the warm surface. She thought, "What kind of knowledge do you contain?" Images flashed in her mind. Medical treatments for diseases humans couldn't cure, energy systems that used no fossil fuels, materials stronger than anything on Earth, but light as paper. The knowledge was basic by world standards, but decades or centuries ahead of human science. Karen pulled her hands away, overwhelmed. This could change everything, she said to her empty kitchen. But she also understood the danger. In the wrong hands, even beneficial technology could be weaponized. Zex had trusted her with this gift. "Use wisely," he had said. Karen made her decision. She would study the crystal carefully, learning one piece of knowledge at a time. She would find trustworthy scientists to help, people who would use the information to help humanity, not harm it. That night, Karen couldn't sleep despite her exhaustion. She kept thinking about Zex and wondering if he had escaped the collectors. She wondered about the Vril and their worlds. And she thought about that unexpected hug, how an alien with 4 arms and copper skin had shown such a human gesture of connection. In all her years of looking at the stars and wondering about alien life, Karen had never imagined her first contact would end with a hug. That simple thank you had shocked her more than the advanced technology or the existence of other intelligent life. As she finally drifted off to sleep, Karen smiled. The universe was stranger and more wonderful than she had ever dreamed. And somewhere out there, a copper-skinned alien with 4 arms was telling his people about the human female who fixed his ship with paperclips and courage. Tomorrow, she would begin the work of sharing Zex's gift with humanity, carefully, wisely, and with hope for a future where Earth might join the wider community of worlds among the stars.